test selection. There are three different ways to select an electrodiagnostic test procedure: the test menu, studies, and the graphical interface. These interfaces can be selected by icons shown at the top. Right now we are showing the test selection using the so-called test menu method. This is the classic Synergy way of showing the tests. Essentially, we have a folder called Synergy EMG version 21, and in this folder we have subfolders like motor nerve conduction, F-wave, and within each folder we will have specific configurations for individual nerves. We can have many different folders. So here we have a folder for evoked potential studies, for some motor unit number estimation studies, and so on. We can also create folders that are configured for individual users. So here's a folder for Dr. Barry, and it contains the settings for performing the electrodiagnostic procedure, or perhaps the reference values and other things that reflect the preferences of Dr. Barry. And similarly, Dr. Smith can have her own folder. Or we can have a folder that contains only the research protocols. To perform a test, we select a test folder, and most often we will be using the basic folder called Synergy EMG. Then select the test, motor nerve conduction, double click. Here is a list of nerve protocols. Let's say I want to study the ulnar nerve. Choose the ulnar nerve, then select the tested side, and then click on OK. All the test parameters for the ulnar motor nerve conduction are loaded, and we can begin with recording the signals. When we are finished with recording, we can click on the select test icon at the top, and this will bring us back to the test menu. We can now select another test and continue with electrodiagnostic testing. The second approach to select a procedure is by using studies. Click on the study menu to display the list of studies. A study contains a list of electrodiagnostic test procedures that are performed sequentially. So here is a study designed for upper limb examination. We'll begin with motor nerve conduction study of the median nerve, followed by F-wave recordings of the median nerve. Then we'll perform motor nerve conduction study of the ulnar nerve, and then F-wave recordings, and so on. The studies can be generic, as shown over here. This is a study of the upper limb. We can have a study of the lower limb. We can also create studies to reflect the test protocols for different referral conditions. So, for example, one can create a study for carpal tunnel syndrome, or ulnar neuropathy, or a polyneuropathy, and so on. Notice that this study is configured for testing the right side. If we want to examine the left side, we can click on the left side icon. Now we can see the left side is selected for examination. We begin by selecting the first test procedure. Double click. The settings for the median motor nerve conduction are loaded. Upon completing the procedure, we can select the next exam in the study by clicking on this F12 function key in the bottom right corner, which says Next Study Exam. On some systems, this function may be available as a dedicated button on the console or the control panel. So when I click on the Next Study Exam, the results of motor nerve conduction will be saved, and now we are ready to perform the median F-wave study. Clicking on Next Study Exam will take us to the ulnar motor study, and so forth. So the study does save time for selecting an examination, and it reduces the number of errors associated with selecting the side or the appropriate protocol. We can exit the study at any time by clicking on the Select Test button. And this will bring us back to the main menu of the study list. The third approach for test selection uses a graphical interface. This has been used in the Viking system. We have 4 icons, one to perform nerve conduction studies, one for EMG, one for EP and one for IOM. Let's say I want to perform a nerve conduction study. Click on the NCS icon. This shows a graphical sketch of the human body on the left. The leg is highlighted in blue color. The nerves that can be tested in this area are listed in the middle window: peroneal, tibial, sural, superficial peroneal, and saphenous. Right now the sural nerve is highlighted, and the associated electrodiagnostic procedures are indicated to the right. We have got three different ways of performing sensory nerve conductions. If I were to click on the peroneal nerve, now I can see motor nerve conduction study for the EDB and the tibialis anterior, and a host of other tests such as F-wave, rep-stim, etc. One selects the electrodiagnostic procedure as follows. First, we click on the appropriate area of the anatomic sketch. Notice right now we have the left side selected for examination. This is the left side of the patient. When I click on the palm over here, this is the opposite side. The area is highlighted in blue, but also the right side is selected for examination. So by clicking on the anatomic sketch, not only do we choose the region, but we also choose the tested side. Then we will choose the nerve. Let's say I want to do radial nerve conduction studies, and then choose the appropriate procedure. So let's say motor nerve conduction. Double click. The parameters for the radial motor nerve conduction study are loaded, and we can proceed with the recording. Upon completing the test, return to the graphical interface by clicking on the Select Test icon and select another electrodiagnostic procedure. To perform a needle EMG examination study, click on the EMG icon. Once again, we have the anatomic sketch on the left, the list of muscles in the center, and the various needle EMG procedures indicated on the right side. Right now this list contains only two muscles. These are my frequently tested muscles. If I want to look at all the muscles that can be studied in the hand, click on this icon, which is a filter. Here is a list of all muscles that can be tested in the palm. This list is quite extensive, and therefore we recommend that you use the filter of frequently tested muscles to make it easy to identify the desired muscle. Having selected the muscle, we can choose the type of recording. This is our standard needle EMG. We can do MUP analysis, multi-MUP analysis, or some advanced procedures like single fiber EMG and so forth. After studying the selected muscle, we can choose another muscle for examination. This is done quite easily by clicking on the new muscle entry in the quick access bar. The anatomic sketch is displayed. I can choose a different area, for example the forearm, and select extensor carpi radialis. Double click. Having studied this muscle, we can choose another muscle. Click on new muscle. Let's choose the shoulder area, let's say deltoid. When all muscles have been tested, we can exit the needle EMG program. This can be done in many different ways. As shown earlier, I can click on Select Test icon at the top. We can also use a function key exit test shown on F2 over here. We can use the exit test command from the quick access bar.